Thank you.
Being lucky is a talent in itself. He was very good at finding bands who were going to pick up the key when whoever was the current band was going to drop it.
After 6 gigs, we had A&R man down trying to sign us, which was extremely fast, and we knew that then even.
At that point, I was retaking an art history exam or something, and I remember coming home at lunchtime, putting like an old pasty and beans or whatever in the oven to eat, the phone ringing. Someone passed the phone to me and said, "There's a guy from Warner Brothers who wants to talk to you." This guy was just saying that I've been listening to your tape and I want to sign your band. So I was just sort of like floored, I mean, just knocked out.
The guy showing off foolishly played with this band he was going to sign called Ride, but he foolishly said, "I'm going to sign them." I immediately left, and I used to have this mobile phone that was like a Kosh, right? And I remember, like, Dick, get me Ride's phone number. 2 hours later, Dick would phone me up on the Kosh, 01865, blah, blah, blah. And of course, got them down.
We were playing big shows supporting Suit Dragons at that time, and who shows up at Alan McGee?
Ride were literally school children. They were harder to get than most, actually. If they were a bit older, like, they were easier to get because you just sent them out of their minds and basically, like, they would sign you. I basically used the other tactic that I used to have. I showed up every gig on a British tour for 2 weeks until they signed me.
The bands that he'd already got on his label just spoke volumes. McGee had got some of our favourite bands anyway. It was just like a no-brainer, really.
I knew they were massive. I knew they were going to be huge. 2 great talents in one band.
It was very much what the indie press was after at the time.
First single, cracked it. Second single went in the charts.
And they became instantly huge as a live band.
Every month or two we'd put out a single, and we'd be playing bigger venues every few months. And this didn't stop till like mid-93.
It was a dream, you know, for me that my band would start to do well. I never really expected that at that time. I don't think any of us did when we first started rehearsing.
The first album went gold pretty immediately.
It felt automatic all the time, and we thought, this is going to be the Beatles. It's going to be the most massive thing ever, because we just kept growing, and it was a phenomenon for a while.
Melody and noise was an unusual thing really at the time, you know. We'd been getting into like Sonic Youth and Dinosaur Jr. and Husker Du and bands like that.
There were a lot of people influenced by that, and I seem to be the only person in the music business that signed these bands.
It just felt like there was something really important there, and those bands sounded so different.
I was the only person in the world that actually wanted them. So when they came along, like the Telescopes, the Slow Dive, Swervedriver, nobody wanted them. I was the only person that liked it. So I just put it out, and I had no idea it was going to be this influential kind of music that you go to America and you're the shoegazing guy.
I think the darkness of Swervedriver really appealed to a lot of Americans.
Swervedriver were probably on different kind of drugs from the most of the people on Creation, you know. We were more probably kind of speed and cider or something at the time, you know.
I never saw them as shoegazing myself, but they did seem to get looked in. The only shoes they gazed at were the ones that were flying past as people were surfing in front of them.
There's a sudden realization of like, well, shit, you know, we've got to follow this up now. We started to go to places like Japan, America for the first time, and that's when you get the likes of Seymour Stein that start entering the scene.
Alan had started having relationships with the major labels over there in the States.
Sire was a cool indie label run by a cool music obsessive, huge fan that became a big, thriving world force.
Ride was one of those wonderful accidents. They were opening for one of my bands, the Mighty Lemon Drops. When I heard that the act was on Creation, I said, well, this is worth checking out. And they were worth checking out. They were young, they were great musicians, they had great songs. I told Alan. A few days later, we did a deal.
Alan did a deal for 3 Creation bands with Sire in the States. The deal was for Ride, Primal Scream, and the Valentines.
His relationships with Sire and all the Warner's people were crucial.
The Americans probably never understood what I was saying, but somehow believed me.
People understand that Alan has something incredible up his sleeve, and he's worked with amazing bands. I cannot stress enough how many Americans can't understand every word he says, or even 50% of the words he says.
He was bringing in the money that kept us going, really.
It was pretty easy. I mean, I'd just go in and tell people it was going to be the biggest group ever.